Welcome to MFCP Woodworking. Today we are making one of the first videos in our turning 2x4 series. This is going to be our first project. What we're going to make is a candy bowl. If you want to know why we call it a candy bowl or how that came to be, I'm not going to cover that right now. I want to keep the video fairly short. I want you to see the action. There is an article that will be accompanying this in the comment section or in the main section in the description, where you can go and see that. It'll tell you if you're interested. If you're not interested, you don't need to see that. Article's still good to listen to. What we're going to do is first make a blank. A blank is a block for turning on the lathe. We make it out of 2x4s. We got to make a glue up for that. So we can't get this done today. We want to glue the block, cure it for the machine. So what I'm going to do is, the first step is take 2x4. I want you to get a little close here with the camera. You can see the grain pattern in the 2x4 here. This is cut from the center of the tree. Okay? What that means is when you cut this wood, you're cutting it right down the middle of the tree. A lot of 2x4s in Canada are like this. They are made from the smaller trees because it's a smaller piece of wood. Bigger pieces of wood are more valuable. But we're going to work with that. What I'm going to do is split these down the middle, these two pieces, to make our block. So I'm going to turn on my machine here. I'm going to cut them, and then I'm going to explain this further. These are the pieces for our block. They're 1.5 inches thick, so 4 of them together make 6 inches. You're going to cut these to 6 inches in length, so you have a square 6 inches by 6 inches. If you were watching me closely, you saw how I cut these pieces. I cut the 2x4s, I put the 2 in the middle, and then when I cut the second piece of 2x4, I put those 2 on the outside. There's a reason why I do that. These pieces, when they tip off, this is your best chance at getting a symmetrical or close to symmetrical pattern in your grain when you're done turning it. That's the reason why I do it. Once you've cut your piece and you glue them face to face, I put them, if you notice that on 2x4s there's a radius on the edges, I turn that part up so that when they're glued together, the bottom is flat. So once you've glued them together, you're going to end up with a piece that looks like this. Basically flat on the bottom with your rough edges on the top. Okay, and your grain pattern the way it is. Spruce is hard on your cutting edges. So on these pieces I always cut off the corners to make the blank. The next step to making your candy bowl is attaching it to the lathe. Now there are 2 options here. I'm going to be making the first part with a faceplate. I'm going to be using a chuck for the second part of it. You can make the entire piece on the faceplate. If you're going to make the entire piece on the faceplate, you're going to go to the flat side and you're going to attach it there. I have 4 holes in my faceplate, so I always mark the corners when I've got it in this stage here. I mark it from corner to corner so that I can orient my faceplate on there the same way every time I mount one to the lathe, oriented to the grain. There's a reason when you want to do that. It'll come up on later ones. It won't matter so much on the candy bowl, but if you're going to make other projects, the candy bowl blank is just something that you make anything that size out of it. We're used to calling it a candy bowl blank, but you make other things out of it besides candy bowls. When you do that, there are projects where that grain orientation is going to be important. That's why I, out of habit, always mark it the same way. With the faceplate oriented this way, you're going to turn the entire bowl with the bowled inside on this one. The disadvantage is that you have to be careful not to hit your screws when you're turning it, because you'll mess up your tools. The advantage is you don't have to own a chuck. You turn the entire bowl. When you're done, sand the bottom flat. Your only project at that point is to either cover, fill, or plug the holes. My choice was to cover them. I use contact cement. I put a layer of the green type contact cement on there, the environmentally friendly stuff. I let it dry entirely. Then I put another layer on wet, and I put the felt to that, and I let it dry. And then I trim it after it's dry. That has worked very well for me. That covers the holes. Some people don't care if the holes show. You have a choice of leaving them. I don't know, I like to cover them up. Some people will fill them with a mix of, well, they'll use either filler or they'll use a mix of sawdust and wood glue. Or they'll drill them out and they'll put a plug in and sand the plug. That's nice. I think it still shows. If you're using a chuck like I am, your first step is to attach it on the other side with the faceplate, because when you bowl the bowl out, after the first step, you're going to put it in the chuck, and when you bowl it out, all your screw holes get turned off of the project. You can actually go quite a bit thinner, and you end up with what I think is a much nicer, more delicate piece. But don't let the lack of a chuck stop you. A chuck is a good thing to have. I love my chuck, but I was making these candy bowls long before I had a chuck. Okay, I am attaching a bowl blank to the faceplate. We're going to be turning the bottom first, and then we're going to be turning the top, or bowling it out. Once this is on the machine, we turn it on and keep going with it. Get my wrenches and redo it. This is one thing, if you get an inexpensive lathe, like I did, replace the cheap little wrenches with something a little more substantial. And I'm not the only one who said that. I've heard other turners recommend that. Okay, we're in business. That's the shape for putting in the chuck. That'll hold in the chuck. I am pretty much done with the bottom. You can see it's a little bit smoother now. Sharpen the tools. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the I I gotta sand it. Yeah, I'm concentrating on these faces here to get them done. Okay, and that's actually pretty good for our purposes right now. On this part, face here where I bowl it out, I'm wanting to make a rim in about that far, and then I want to bowl it out so there's a definite rim. Tighten it a little bit, but not too much. These do come loose if you're unlucky. So I won't just do it finger tight. I'll actually put a little bit. So I hope you enjoyed this video on making candy bowls out of 2x4 material. This is a series. I will be doing more, hopefully coming up once a week for the next little while. We'll be doing more of them. Big shout out to my son who's taking care of the camera work. He runs the Amy2 site. Go ahead and give him a look. There will be a link in the description. If you haven't already, subscribe and hit like, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of these. And we'll see you next time.